Oh god, don't show this game. Well, we have one person who doesn't want this game.
Prepare yourself for battle, heroes.
I have no cleanse, so careful. I need to be really fucking scared.
The battle begins in 10 seconds.
Okay, so it could be the blue team, but sometimes people don't have mics.
4, 3, 2, 1. Fight.
So we're not going to jump to any conclusions. This is something we've been talking about a little bit. But sometimes there's a clear distinction between early and late game comps. Generally speaking, if your team has a lot of stuns or other sorts of crowd control mechanics at level 1, you have an early-ish comp because you can get picks really early on. That's EDC Kerrigan. EDC Kerrigan is one of the strongest level 1 team fights in the game. The only way they can make this better is by adding a Tyrande. There's no reason for blue team to be like literally anywhere near them. So blue team should just casually be away. But red team's like already making a terrible decision and having Kerrigan go top lane, so that's great. Blue team is in the clear. I'm going to say that red team actually does not have comms because this decision is so awful that there's no way anyone would make it. Also, red team's the free agents because you have people doing shit on their own. And that's actually going to be my final answer. Just based off Kerrigan being this dumb, that's my final answer. You guys can tell me if I'm right or not. 100% incorrect. Feels bad. Blue team is Fat 5 and they are no comms. Wow, so Kerrigan went top with comms. Wow. Surprised neither team had comms. So it's actually blue team with no comms. Wow. Wow. Red team is really bad then. Man. If blue team actually loses this, when red team's on comms but is still playing this badly, I casted red team yesterday, they lost a lot of the pings. That is true, but this game is from a while ago, so I didn't make any assumptions. Just because they started out as free agents doesn't mean that they were still, you know, free agents. Also, why is Kerrigan solo laning? On an entirely unrelated note, I guess Thrall's soloing bot, but Kerrigan was like laning at all. Kerrigan should be roaming for kills. Kerrigan's what I like to refer to as a horseshoe hero. I think the game sounds still a little loud. Kerrigan's what I like to refer to as a horseshoe hero. She's really, really strong in the early game, and then drops off a little bit in the mid game and has a good power spike at 16 when she gets double shields, where she sort of comes back and can play aggressively again. So in the very, very early game, like from 1 to 7, you ought to be playing aggressively as Kerrigan and looking for picks. And then certainly at 10 for team fights with Maelstrom. Then every level between 10 and 16, you get a little bit weaker until you hit 16, and then you pop back up. If Tyrael had stutter step there and actually gotten every auto attack off, Thrall would be dead. In case you're wondering, that's one of the reasons that people are like high-level players are like you can't stutter step on Tassadar after his rework. Stutter stepping actually results in kills and results in denial of damage a lot. So the fact that there's a hero who just can't stutter step is kind of a problem. It's just such a low-level game. And again, we have Lily Kerrigan going to the top lane, casually ignoring the mid lane with EDC. EDC is laning by himself, one of the strongest gank stun tanks in the game. He's just sitting on his mount, doing nothing, while his Kerrigan is laning. I mean, I've cast bronze games that were worse than this. I've cast silver games that were worse than this. Cast some gold games that were worse than this. But there's a lot of errors. A lot of errors in this game. This is one of the worst games I ever played, and I'd like to be buried in a dumpster. Wow. That's pretty harsh. Who's the hat on? Okay, it's on Vala. I just didn't see it for a second. The CH game is worse than losing versus 5 or easy AI. I think you guys are being unnecessarily harsh. Although I could be wrong. Maybe you're being the correct amount of harsh. This is an easy opportunity to pick up level 7. Undead is incredibly slow on the rotation here, which means that blue should just give up one of these altars for free. They can get bottom and potentially have Tyrael get there in time to contest mid. There's no reason to go for both, though. They really... Like, this is a situation where you don't be greedy.
Be swift.
Alright. So Muradin's getting bottom. We talked about this in the last solo game, but if you're the tank, you need to be with your team. The people who go in solo cap altars tend to be people who have escapes, survivability of some kind, and poke. Muradin has an escape, but no poke. Tyrael can actually poke forever, but Tyrael was never going to get there in time, so that's why they should have given up bottom altar and gone mid as 5. Or gone 4 bottom and given up mid unless Tyrael could get there in time to poke it and then get back out. This is not a great scenario because Tyrael's not really going to do anything to help his team peel in this situation, which means that Kerrigan can come in and get a lot of value. Split focus on the fire here. We saw Gul'dan going for the value of the 3. They could have, if everyone had focused Tyrael, Tyrael would be dead. Instead, Tyrael's alive. So Tyrael's alive right now only because red team misplayed. That was a bad Kerrigan combo. Chasing here is a bad decision because somehow Muradin managed to delay Thrall, I guess. Which means they should just go bottom and get the altar. They got mid when they shouldn't have, now they can get bottom. Now we go back to the relatively boring laning phase of the game. We are going to see the casual pushing by EDC, which is something he can actually... Okay, EDC went Pinball Wizard. It hurts. Alright. Alright. Echo Pedal is by far the best talent on ETC at level 7. It gives you amazing wave clear. Like, amazing wave clear. Especially if you're on a bigger map and you're going to go stage dive. The ability to split push lanes is incredibly powerful, right? Because you can come into the fight whenever your team needs you. If you're gonna go Pinball Wizard, the only advantage of Pinball Wizard over Echo Pedal is that it is technically more burst over a very short time window. I think in total it's like 2.5 seconds, or like 4.5 seconds. 4.5 seconds. It's technically more burst. Which means that you only take it as ETC when you're rotating for ganks. Constantly. When your whole team comp is based around ETC slides someone, there's follow-up, and then he melts them out of position, and then they die. Right? That is the only reason to ever take this talent. This is a 1-kill game so far, and it's not on the red team's side. We've had exactly 0 ETC ganks. Zip. Zada. Nada. Zilch. not a 1. So, this is... You can't even really classify this as, like, a mistake. It's actually just wrong. A mistake's something you do not realizing that it's terrible. Yeah. Oh, they might... are we going to see it? Are we going to see the pinball wizard value? Nah, he's fine. Also, yeah, and you should also never W after Q. So you shouldn't... It only results in damage... It only results in decent damage if it results in a kill. Which doesn't happen very often, right? It just doesn't. You're not usually going to kill someone with W even at 200% additional damage. You're just not going to do it. Also, sometimes you use W without Q, and every time you use W without Q, you're wasting... You don't have a 7 talent. Right? Every time you're in a situation where you're peeling for your team with W, which is usually the correct use of W, or peeling for yourself, and you're not using Q, you like don't have a 7 talent. The situations where you just give up a talent for free are few and far between. But anytime you W right after Q, or even after the stun runs out, it's usually not that good because you're messing up your team's follow-up, and if you don't have follow-up there, then why'd you Q? Like, if you're queuing aggressively for a kill, your team should be there to follow up. And if you're queuing for peel, then you want to stutter step a little bit, position better, and then W. There's really very few scenarios where Wing after Q is correct.
Once more, the altars rise from the depths.
Being mounted is really important. Being mounted is a buff that gives you 30% movement speed until you take damage. It's a good way to think about it. Anytime you take damage, you get dismounted. Seems reasonable, right? Thrall could have dismounted Ariel here with a Q, and then she wouldn't be mounted anymore, and it would be much easier to kill her. If Thrall had dismounted Ariel, EDC, who was mounted, could have rid in, Q'd her. Thrall could have followed up with a root, and then she would be dead as this objective is spawning. And they would get level 10 off of the kill. Ariel is really 100% alive here solely because Thrall didn't dismount her. If you have a ranged ability and you see someone who's mounted, dismount them. Just like basically 100% of the time. It's almost always correct to dismount people. I'm not sure why they left Gul'dan in the bot lane. They already had enough experience to secure 10. They're just trading here. It's fine. Actually, if they're just trading... Okay. I was going to say, if they're just trading, then they don't even want to focus on delaying this. They want to have Gul'dan be double soaking and just have him go back down after he clears mid and then not commit, but then ETC power slid in. Let's see what happens. They did not deserve to win that fight. All right, so we're just gonna back up for a second. All right, EDC power slides in. Muradin is on the Kerrigan, just like trying to zone for his team. You can see Ariel isn't really paying attention and is kind of just on whatever. And Vala switches targets. You can see Vala actually changed her focus fire from the ETC. If these three heroes right here, if all three of them, Ariel, Vala, and whoever this is, Tyrael, had actually thrown everything at the ETC, he would be dead. He would be 100% dead. And this is why high-level players will make fun of you for saying don't focus the tank. Focus whoever's out of position. If someone's out of position, everyone should be focusing them, and then they should die. Everyone. Everyone should focus them, and then they're dead. EDC is alive here because blue team does not know how to focus fire. And not only that, they lost Vala. Also, don't draft Vala with solo support. Tyrael doesn't really count. He's like half a support. You really need double support to justify dropping Vala. Otherwise, she's just too fragile. And that's one of those things that really doesn't require comms. It just doesn't. If you see someone's overextended into your entire team, focus them. If everyone followed that rule, there would be more deaths from ETC's power sliding into the middle of teams. Ariel Vala OP. Ariel Vala is only OP if the Vala can constantly auto attack. The Vala can't constantly auto attack unless she has, you know, double support. This is something you don't say, by the way. Tyrael has to sank where the damage is, not where he is. If you see someone in your team getting damaged, you're literally the most mobile hero in the entire game between Eldra and Smite, and Smite plus Switch Retribution as well. You could if you go Roderick or forging your keys up more often. You need to think about where the enemy team's going to be doing damage and be there to sank. In particular, if you're up against a Kerrigan and you're Tyrael, you want to look at the Kerrigan. As soon as the Kerrigan casts Maelstrom, you want to sank on top of her Maelstrom. So Tyrael was actually over here when Maelstrom got casted here. Everyone should have been focusing the ETC, so that shouldn't have been an issue. But it was. So Tyrael should have, as soon as the ETC queued Sage Dove out, Tyrael should have queued into the Kerrigan and immediately cast Sank.
Is that all?
Alright. It's doing it again. There we go. I think Samura's the most mobile here. I mean, Samuro has... What's the cooldown? Does anyone know offhand what the cooldown is? I'm going to just look it up. So Samuro has 0 mobility outside of his E. He has literally none. Right? His E is on a 12-second cooldown and only gives him 25% movement speed. Plus he has... I mean, if he's auto-attacking something, then he has the movement speed increase from his trait. But that's not that consistent in the majority of cases. Tyrael has 25% movement speed on a 6-second cooldown. Granted, it only lasts for 2 seconds, but it goes up to 35% and 3 seconds with level 4 talent. And then he has a teleport on a 12-second cooldown that he can pre-place and then move around with. And if he casts it on an enemy hero and takes a different level 4 talent, it goes down to a 7-second cooldown. At level 7, he can even gain a 40% movement speed for 3 seconds after he uses it. It's a lot of mobility. Am I back? I'm back. Alright. If I deselect the mic and then reselect it, I like reinitialize which mic I'm using and it fixes it. But I don't know what happens. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. 13's picked up for red team, no 13 for blue team. Blue team should just give this up completely and soak. Tychus should be going top right now to get this top soak. Right, they don't need two people soaking this lane. Undead's already getting the mid soak. Tychus can go top. He dismounted. Doesn't need to do that. Now he's gonna have to remount. They're still like shadowing this for some reason. There's no reason to like even be here. That was a good Q by Tyrael. He should just be out of here. Yeah, he's out. Nice. Also, if Tychus just hadn't been here, he wouldn't have gotten feared. There would have been no possibility he died, and they would have gotten this wave. This wave would have been about enough to get them 13. Also, if everyone hadn't been sharking around here trying to get to the lay, and they just soaked the wave, they would definitely been 13. If two people had both made the correct decision, they would be 13 right now. Instead, they're fighting. I guess Horrify's down, so this is not as bad as it could be. That's a pretty funny stage dive. That sank was a little late. If that sank had been on top of the stage dive, that would have been glorious. Also, Nano should have just stayed there. You gotta, when you have a Tyrael, you gotta, and you're all grouped up like this, you have to believe that your Tyrael's gonna do the right thing. All evidence to the contrary. See, Nano lost a bunch of damage, and now he has to come back in. Now he's doing the damage, but it's a little bit late. Focus Fire is, again, a huge issue. You can see Vala's dueling the Gul'dan in the back line. You have two people over here. Nano and Ariel are, like, dueling the Thrall. There's literally 3 fights going on here, when the only way to win this fight was Focus Fire. These are uploaded to YouTube. So it ended up being a 3-for-1, 4-for-1, 5? Body blocked. It's worth noting that the Muradin was a little bit blocked there. Muradin is a melee hero and has Skullcracker. Vala is not a melee hero. If Vala had gotten out of Muradin's way and Muradin had gotten 1 auto attack off, I don't know where he is in the cycle, but if he'd gotten 1 auto attack off and it had been a Skullcracker auto attack, that would be a dead ETC. Don't body block your melee heroes when you're ranged. You really need to be aware of your positioning at all times, regardless of what role you're playing, and think about, well, am I in the right place? I've seen a lot of people in Hero League, especially when they're playing tanks or other melee heroes, like try and be really, really aggressive, and then I'll see ranged heroes like try and catch up, and what they'll do is they don't stutter step, right? So they walk all the way forward, and then they're next to their tank. And then the fight goes sideways, and they try and back up. If they'd been stutter stepping forward and casting abilities as they went up, they would never have been that close. But then the tank disengages, and then suddenly the tank's body blocking their range from getting out. It's sort of the opposite of that situation, but you really need to be aware of your positioning and whether or not you're a ranged or a melee hero all the time. Not only for considerations of where the enemy team is positioned, but for where your team is positioned. Especially if your model is bigger. Because obviously some heroes have bigger models, which means they have bigger hitboxes. Diablo, Asmodan. They are grabbing the camps here. This is fine. They could have just pushed. Honestly, if they had not grabbed either of these camps and just pushed, this would be a dead tower. And it's really more important to get the tower and get the tempo advantage and experience and then just sit on it. And especially because this is the most important lane. Once they have this, the enemy team comes to reclaim it, you can fight. And if you win the fight, then you get the camps, you get 6 free shots. But there's no reason to just get the camps. And I imagine they're even going to get baited into fighting and then not push with them. You can see blue team's like, oh my god, we're everywhere, we're crazy, we don't even know what we're doing, our damage isn't even here, oh my god, our Vala's not here. So because the Vala's not there, Ariel has no energy, that's really bad. Muradin is like completely disengaged from this fight. He has to jump back in here, he has Avatar. He needs to just be on top of these people. Looks like they're going to get the kill on the Lili. Nona gets saved. Kerrigan ends up going down. Nice. Hey, they focused a target. Hey guys, they focused a target and they won a fight. Those two things may be related to each other. So this is a triple altar phase spawning in 20 seconds. Death timers are at 20 seconds for Gul'dan, which means that they should be able to get at least one of the altars for free, no contest. Undead, by the way, was tanking the top tower here, and that's why he's so low. If he's just taking one of the towers, it would have been fine. When you're doing this, you just attack from under here. If you're a melee hero and you're not in range of that tower, you'll take a lot less damage. That matters significantly because I don't know if he has tap available. If he does have tap available, he should go tap. But if he doesn't have tap available, he's going to be in this next fight at half health with no Sanct for basically no reason.
Do not disappoint me. Enough of this shrine. Bring down the Gravekeeper's call. I am lord of this realm, and it will not be stolen from me. You will pay.
Really? Are we going for the invade here? The invade here is the correct call. You're up a talent tier. There's no reason not to be aggressive. You have Holy Ground, so you're going to be absolutely fine if you do come in. Defending this is also the correct call, so if you get the camp, it makes it easier to defend this. The Q should immediately be on the point. Nope. The Q should have immediately been on the point there. There's no reason for Tyrael to let him have that camp. That's just a mistake by Tyrael in his timing. Nice Aegis. Probably gonna save. Nope. So they end up trading pretty reasonably. Nice kill. So they end up trading 3 for 2. But they end up losing the camp, which is really what they wanted, because they wanted to maintain this position for as long as possible. And we're sending Vala alone to the top lane to soak, apparently. Ariel's trotting along afterwards. Eventually. Again, another scenario where the correct decision was just to defend the fort and have it available. Is this even going to do anything? So they're gonna rotate all the way up here, grab this camp, and then leave. The camp will get the front wall, basically. But not much else. And they're going to be late. EDC has stage dive, so it's okay for him to be here. But everyone else who's here made a mistake. So Murden made a mistake, Ariel made a mistake, Vala made a mistake. So Tyrael's job is to delay against at least 2 people while his entire team gets here. Gets chunked for free by Thrall. 2 main Kerrigan combo. And then this happens. There's actually a decent Sanct. Murden may be a little overextended here. Does he have? Murden didn't go healing static. It's worth noticing. He did not. He didn't. He actually. This is a mistake. If you go Thunderburn, your only reason to go Thunderburn, the only reason to go Thunderburn, which is otherwise not that great a talent, is if you're taking one of the 2 W talents at 13. The best one is healing static by a large margin. If you don't go healing static, you shouldn't have gone Thunderburn. If you don't go Thunder Strikes, you shouldn't have gone Thunderburn. So taking Burning Rage here is a mistake, and Murden has been dying a lot, grouped up in the middle of like 4 people. Could have lived. Could have lived, didn't. Lily's just basically topping everyone off here. Everyone needs to group up for an Ariel heal. They kind of do it. Also, technically, against 3 melee, Thunderburn is slightly worse than the cooldown reduction. Even with healing static, it's better to go healing static and the cooldown reduction. The name escapes me. It's not very often you're up against 3 melee as Muradin, because generally speaking, you pick Muradin into teams with relatively fragile backlines, so you can play aggressively. Crowd control. It's called crowd control. Burning Rage has highest win rate on hot slogs? Yes, it does. In fact, Burning Rage has the highest win rate on hot slogs for every, I believe, for every single hero that has Burning Rage. That should tell you something about how valuable Wave Clear is, and it should also tell you something about the average Hero League game. It's even better than Imposing Will on Tyrael, and there has literally not been a pro game ever where Tyrael did not take Imposing Will. Because Imposing Will is nuts. Imposing Will is one of the strongest talents in the entire game, and Burning Rage is a higher win rate. I don't know. I haven't checked him in a while, but when I was writing my Tyrael guide, Burning Rage had a higher win rate than Imposing Will. By 1.5%, but it was still there. And I only, for my guides, I only check high MMR, so it was 1.5% higher at Diamond and Masters. That might, I don't know if that's still true. But it was when I wrote the Tyrael guide. So blue is like casually throwing the game here. Vala's been doing the correct thing and going and soaking. Ariel's like always so far behind the Vala. When you have Ariel Vala, they should always be together. There's no real reason for them to ever be apart, especially because, well, it didn't go and happen in this case, but I really prefer Reservoir of Hope on Ariel at 16 in the majority of cases. And if you're always with the Vala, you can constantly be building up that hope to get the quest going. They're doing boss. This is like useful information, but it doesn't mean anything. The correct play here is still to push in and take this back and get 20. Currently, they're a little bit ahead in experience. They can get 20 first and then fight. Like, they have that opportunity of getting the fort, getting 20 first. All they have to do is give up the altar, which is painful, but not that bad. They're gonna get 20 as soon as this comes down. Red team is actually making a very ballsy decision here to go in with stage dive. This should result in a dead ETC, and 20 is already picked up. So I'm gonna make a brave call here. Blue team does not immediately lock their 20 talents and win this fight. Not a single 20 talent tank. They do focus the ETC though, so that's good. They get the fort. 20 talents are still not taken for literally anyone. Tyrael ends up dying with Sank available. Worth noting, Tyrael should have taken Hardened Shield right there and lived. Took Hardened Shield after he dies, so that's good. Lily's gonna face check the bush. If this Lily doesn't die, I'm gonna lose complete faith in the blue team. Lily lived. Vala died. Now Tychus died. gonna back that up. We can't click on each hero to see if they used every single ability, unfortunately. Alright. Can we slow it down? No. Stormbolt. Okay, good. Tychus's gun is glowing, which means his trait is active. Detainment Strike. Multi-shot. Did not see Hungering. Did not see Tychus Grenade. Did not see Muradin W. And did not see Sweep in between auto attacks for the Ariel after Detainment Strike. The way you want to do this is, because animations will interfere with casting abilities, you want to stagger your abilities in between auto attacks. So that should have been Detainment Strike into the wall, auto attack, Sweep into auto attack. Oh, it was there. Okay. So we missed 3 abilities. There were 3 damaging abilities that were not cast. That might not have been enough, actually. With the Earthquake coming down in time and Earth and Shields, plus the resistance from Shake It Off, it might not have made a difference. Burning Rage was also even technically more damage, and still wasn't enough. Burning Rage was not the right talent pick. Although they were all grouped up. Like, this is, again, a melee hero. Vala probably missed some AAs, but Vala also should have been standing a little bit further back. There was no reason to be, like, right on top of the Muradin. And she got comboed away by the Kerrigan. That should be game. I don't even think we really need to finish this, honestly. This is just... That fight is game. Because it's going to be 5-2 for a little while, and this is Towers of Doom. I don't think we really need to finish that. Now we gotta